Meanwhile, at Big Cereal Corp, Wyoming. I think we pretty much have all of the sugared corn-based cereals we could possibly be releasing. I mean, it's 90% of all the products we do, but thank you for coming in. Right, but these are triangles. You don't have any sugary corn triangles, do you? We don't have any sugary corn parallelograms either, or crescents, or nonagons, heptagons, none of the gons, actually. We do have some sugary wheat hexagons, I believe. Not helpful, Biggles, you worm. To the armoire with you. Sorry, sir, stupid me. Yes, right away. Off I go, into the wardrobe. Perfectly normal, definitely my fault. Yes, okay, no problem, okay. So anyway, we just have no time for you. Thanks. You can leave and send the next person in. Biggles, how many more of these damn pitches do we have to hear today? Well, I need to check the clipboard, but... Biggles? Yes, sir? Well, I didn't say anything about leaving the armoire, now did I? No, sir. At no point did I coo and say... Hey, Biggles, remove yourself from the armoire forthwith, did I? Definitely not, sir. Okay, then. So, back inside. Yes, of course. No, you're so right. So, let's try it again. Biggles, how many more of these damn pitches do I have to hear today? Well, sorry, I can't tell without looking at the damn clipboard. Biggles, you're fired. But you still aren't allowed to leave the armoire yet. Okay. Right, you there. Who are you? I'm the cleaner. I was told to come in here and clean the windowsills, but I can see you're using them for all your, dental equipment? Those are torture accoutrements, and don't you forget it. Send in the next oaf and a new assistant for me. Okay. Right, now, who are you then? I'm Alan Thurp. Thurp? Yes, it's short for pustule. Okay then, so what's your pitch? Well, I don't know what kind of cereal you should make. That's your area of expertise, obviously. Wise fellow. But I do have a name. Oh, I like this already. What is it? Go on, hit us with your best. Yes, I think you could have great success with a cereal called Titty Bunches of Oats. What was that? Titty Bunches of Oats. It's like Honey Bunches of Oats, except that it's Titty Bunches of Oats. Titty Bunches of Oats. That's right. Titty Bunches of Oats. I see. And what the cereal will be shaped like a bosom, I suppose. Doesn't have to be. Just the cereal name should be Titty Bunches of Oats. And maybe we could add nipples to a circular cereal and make the nipples out of oats. I don't care what you do. I mean, you could make the cereal just be long stalks of actual wheat that you yank from a field and shove into a box. But I must insist that the name I am pitching to you today, and that I hope to make bundles of cash off, is Titty Bunches of Oats. And do you think we'll get in trouble with the Honey Bunches of Oats people? I don't see how we could. You see, theirs is Honey Bunches of Oats, and ours, if you haven't got it yet, is Titty Bunches of Oats. That's titty, not honey. Well, I think we're on to a winner here. I think we'll have family-sized boxes of Titty Bunches of Oats in every household, diner, hotel, and haberdashers from here to the Sierra Madre by Christmas. Our people will call your people, Mr. Pustule, and we'll draw up a contract. That sounds wonderful. I also want to retain the merchandising rights. I have an idea for a snack cake called Little Debbie's Titty Buns. Well, we'll work all of that out with our lawyers and call you in about a week or two. Here's a ceremonial cat o' nine tails as a keepsake. Oh, thank you very much. Talk soon. Well, that was splendid. That has reinvigorated my energy sacs, and I think I'm ready for one more.
Hello.
Hello, and who are you?
I'm Jeff, and I just came in here to say the words, After Movie Diner.
Whatever for, you insane person?
Wait for it. Ah, there it is.
Yes, that's right. Back by popular demand. Well, back by a deafening silence that we took to be a reasonable demand that you were all just too polite to make. It's the inevitably nonsensical, yet hopefully enjoyable, After Movie Diner Season 2. That's right, the first 353 episodes were just Season 1. That is just mad! Like all good sequels, in Season 2, you can expect us to ramp up the action, gore, expletives, gratuitous mentions of Donald Pleasance, and, of course, the requisite nudity. So, when you hear this noise,
Rubbery thong?
Remove your first item of clothing. And make it something good, not just a sock or a polka dot neckerchief or something. In Season 2, your put-upon and rapidly aging host, John Cross, is going to attempt to write, shoot, edit, and score an independent film, while talking with his guests about the arduous process, and probably a movie or two for good measure. Oh, I do hope there's a part in this thing for me. Something good, something I can really sink my teeth into, perhaps with an accent. And a funny hat. I act so much better in hats. I once had to play Helen of Troy in a local theater production, and they refused to let me wear my big crochet bucket hat with the parakeet feather, and the whole sorry production died after a week. One journalist said, I had seen Leanna Chamish in Twelfth Night, where her bright purple deerstalker was the absolute standout of the show. But here, hobbled by her lack of headgear, the play suffers, and so did...
Leanna, could we get on with it, please?
Yes, sorry, you're right. If you enjoy the show and have pursued the recommended treatment from your medical providers, why not support the show on Patreon over at patreon.com/aftermoviediner. You can also donate to the show directly at aftermoviediner.com. Rate and review the show wherever podcasts are found and rating and reviewing is possible. Even a 1-star review provides useful insights on exactly the sort of petty-minded and wretched individual who negatively reviews free entertainment they do not need to be consuming. So, without further dribbling, please put down your lemon meringues, silence your bowels, and rub 2 nearby dogs together for the one, the only. Thank goodness, because any more of him and we'd have to start a call. John Cross.
Rubbery thong?
Okay, hello and welcome to the revamp of the After Movie Diner. Yes, indeed. It's technically our second season. The previous 12 years was the first season. Then we quit. Then we threw our hands up and we stormed away like a petulant child. But now we're back, and we're back for a very exciting reason. We're back because the After Movie Diner presents John Cross Makes a Movie. Yes, going forward, the After Movie Diner will chronicle a year, potentially longer, in the life of a guy who once, years ago, made a scrappy independent movie that he never really finished. Now, he's back to try and make his first movie in 20-plus years with the help of all his friends and the people who give him inspiration. And where better place to start on that journey than inspiration itself, and the man who can talk all about everything. He can talk about music, he can talk about book writing, he can talk about movie making, he can talk about inspiration. He has written the book, literally, on the independent creative method, and we're going to get all into that. It is the multi-hyphenate. All these people who are like, well, I produce, write, and direct. Well, la-di-bloody-da, this guy does everything. Act, produce, write, direct, the music, everything. It is the one, the only, Mr. Matt Farley.
This is a huge honor, and I'm very excited about this new direction with the diner. You're maintaining some diner qualities, but also, well, I've always told you, like, that episode you did way back at one of the Comic Cons,
Yeah.
where you were like, it was kind of like a diary, like the diary of John's visit to the Comic Con, and I loved it, and I feel like this is that only times 100, because this is gonna be the diary of you making a movie, and it's there's gonna be some dark moments.
There were gonna be some episodes.
In that episode, it was like you had to wait in line to get an autograph, or you had to pay to get an autograph. That was the problem. Versus in future episodes, it's gonna be like so and so didn't show up. Friendships are ending. Oh, it's gonna be good.
Well, indeed, and what spurred me on to do this episode was finally getting around to watch the movie you've been extolling the virtues of for years, The Pit. So the inspiration this time, it turns out, is in The Pit. I am in the process of writing the script currently, and I think what I'm finding most of all, Matt, is that I don't have a Charlie, right? So you write with Charlie.
Yeah.
I don't have a Charlie. Now, I have some people who, once the script is in some kind of shape, I will send it out to, and they might do a polish or give me some notes or whatever. But
can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
Don't even expect that. Don't even expect them to read it.
I don't expect it. No.
Yes, just like the level of disappointment that you have to prepare yourself for is immense. When you give a script to a person,
yes,
to polish, to give notes on,
yes,
or just to read, you're giving them homework. Even if they say they want it,
right.
In the moment they're like, "Yeah, I'll read your script," and then you send it to them, and then 3 months later you ask them for notes, and they're like, "Oh yeah." Yes. So it's tough, yeah, and I'm lucky to have Charlie, who we bounce ideas off of, and we're both equally into it. But it can be done solo, and you saw me doing it solo, for Local Legends, and so it's definitely possible.
Yeah, and I used to write in a team years ago. I used to write with Mr. John Wallace, and he went off and became. Well, I moved to the States. I was the first to abandon the band, as it were, for Yoko Ono, much to my future self's chagrin. But and then he went off and became like a science fiction author with a 3-book deal. So he showed me, and then I did the podcast, and obviously I wrote a lot of sketches and things for the podcast and things like that. But this is the first time I've rolled up my sleeves and written a feature since, as I hinted at in the intro, since I was back at university. And what I did at university was, we were all doing this film course, but I was probably more active in actually going out and making stuff than most. I would always rent out the cameras or just use my own camera, because I had a little HD video camera back in the day, or whatever they were called. Not HD back in the day, were they? They were like the mini DVs.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And I would just go film stuff, and me and my friends would make this parody TV series. There were about 10, 15-minute episodes. I was doing kind of internet content before internet content was like a thing. We did these. An irony was I later uploaded them to the internet once YouTube existed. But we were doing these 10, 15-minute long, mostly improv, but we kind of had a kind of an idea behind them, or kind of a format that was sort of a parody of Knight Rider, A-Team, those kind of shows, and we called it Super Cop. I think it was before we knew about the Jackie Chan film Super Cop, but it was the idea of this sort of lone Avenger who, his wife had died and his friend lived in a bush, and we had all these kind of running gags and things, and he would, every week there was a villain, and every end of every episode we would have a big fight, and it was really just an excuse for us to do lots of ridiculous stunts back when stunts didn't hurt us, So I made a series of those, and then off the back of that, I made also, weirdly enough, I made a zombie film long before that was a thing that independent people did. So even before Shaun of the Dead came out, like this was, I don't know whether the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead had come out yet. I don't even think it had. I remember my memory is that I went to Blockbuster in our town, and Blockbuster in our town, I hear from a lot of Americans that Blockbuster just kind of had all the new stuff over here. They didn't have like a big back catalog section.
Right.
Ours was huge. It had a big back catalog section, but also along the new walls where you would have 50 copies of Independence Day or whatever.
Yeah.
Along the bottom, they would have 1 or 2 copies they were new films, but they were ones you probably had never heard of, little independent things. And one of them was a very little independent Pittsburgh movie that most people hate these days called Children of the Living Dead, which is where someone in Pittsburgh who happened to know Tom Savini decided to make a quasi sequel to Day of the Dead. And Tom Savini's face gets plastered all over the cover, but he's barely in it. It was that kind of thing. And I remember renting that and going, oh yeah, they used to make zombie films. Why don't they make zombie films anymore? It seems like not an easy thing to do, but it seems like it's a fun thing to do. Everyone loves getting dressed up in makeup and, shuffling around and stuff. And, you can make the zombies mean anything. And also, they've never really done a zombie comedy before. Like, why has no one done a zombie comedy? So I rolled up my sleeves and I wrote, essentially, I took the Python-esque model, which was, go away, write a bunch of sketches. I had been a comedy sketch writer. Go away, write a bunch of sketches around a theme, and then put them in an order. You know what I mean? That's what they did with Holy Grail and Life of Brian and all that. Put it in an order and kind of find your story that way. And I worked in a pub at the time, and the Robert Rodriguez thing is like, use what you have, right? That was his big thing. And I had a pub, and I'm like, well, and I had the keys so I could film after hours. So I'm like, well, there's some production value. We, over a few weekends and months and stuff and the summer and things, we made this ramshackle film. Of course, by the time we had finished, Shaun of the Dead had come out, and their entire third act takes place in a British pub. So, and our story was different and everything was sort of different, but it was a good, from what I remember, it was a good experience of putting together a big thing by myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The benefit I had, of course, back then was everyone was in one town. And sort of everyone was students, so they were just kind of hanging around. They didn't have anything else to do. Now everyone has lives and things. So anyway, that's my history in making stuff. Since then, I've just really written sketches and songs and things as well, Matt, and done, a little acting here and there. But I wanted to get back into filmmaking. Kim, a year ago, bought me, on the advice of Charlie Roxburgh, your director, a Lumix GH5 Mark II, which are all words and names and numbers I don't understand, but that's fine. Okay. And I just got a nice lens for it. So
nice. Does that do audio as well?
It does do, and I got an external mic with a wind thing on it, but only one that clips to the camera. I know I'm probably going to need, I have a couple of audio mics that I use for my songs and things that I could possibly also try and kind of affix to the camera. But
does it have like an XLR input or?
Yes.
Oh well, that's great then. Yeah. Because if you're a one-man show, it's hard to also be operating the camera and the audio gear too. So
the audio is going to be the thing, and it's funny. It was always the thing that we didn't think much of. We always just did the in-camera audio. Right. And whenever, actually, when Jim and John Wallace, who have always sort of been my creative partners, would watch our stuff. That John was always the one to be like, you got to crack the audio, man. You got to figure out the audio. So I've got the camera, I've got the lens. The camera has, a headphone socket so you can listen to the audio. It has built-in audio recording. It's designed specifically for filmmaking.
Nice.
So the next step, and I did buy an external mic. The next step is to kind of get an extension for that external mic and a boom pole. That'll be kind of the next thing, and maybe even like you tried with the first few films, like a radio mic, clip mic or whatever.
Yeah, we've had good luck with just like mic stands in general, and for the last few movies, that's worked for us.
Yeah. And I just bought, I don't know if you can see behind me, actually you can't in that view, but I just bought, because I'm putting together my recording studio down here, I just bought a couple of Shure mics, the SM58 or whatever. I don't know names, numbers, and things like that, but I bought the vocal one and the guitar recording one. So I have the live vocal audio mic, which came, I got a mic stand, I got 2 mic stands. So I have mic stands. I need to get a boom pole and an extension cord for the mic. But yeah, so there's a little technology I still have to pick up. I splurged because I got a little bonus from work, nothing too much, but enough. And I splurged and got an anamorphic lens for the camera, which is the John Carpenter style widescreen lens. Again, I don't even know what I'm doing with lenses.
If it looks cool, it looks cool. So hit record. Yeah?
That's the hope. So here's where we're at, Matt. So I've got a bunch of ideas kicking around for the script. And as always, I sort of have the big one idea that would be the thing I'd really like to do. But the other thing that's gnawing at the back of my head is, well, when it came to doing music, as you know, I just put out album after album after album. And it wasn't till about 2 years ago that I really felt like I'd got good at what I was doing. Like I knew what I was doing and I could kind of push it. And I could always go back to the old way and kind of record scrappily and do more kind of live feeling recording. But then I also knew how to mount like a mass multi-track kind of song. And I felt like I could do either because I had practice. As much as I would love to do the one big idea I have, I feel like I should motor knit a bit and do a few maybe like 70-minute films, maybe make a few in the next few years and then build up to the big idea. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I like that, I mean, you gotta get the kinks out, and I mean, a 70-something minute film is nothing to scoff at.
No, of course not. No, I'm not saying that's easy. I'm just saying,
no, but that's good.
Don't make your best idea first, or would you just say, no, screw it, go for it, and try and mount your best idea?
Yeah. Well, I mean, who's to say that maybe you get through the best idea and then you're inspired with an even better idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? But no, I think I mean practicality. I mean, if you have other ideas in your back pocket, then I would say especially if you think it'll take less work to do those other ones, like a good way to get the ball rolling. Because definitely being overly ambitious, the more ambitious you are, the more apt you are to quit, I think.
Yeah, and what's odd is I don't think quitting is going to necessarily be the problem. It's more that, like you say, I think if I with the big idea, I think if I gave myself like a few years to make the big idea, I could probably get everything I would need from other people, other cast members, other things or whatever. I think the problem is if I want to have something either by the end of this year or early next year, probably better to make the movie which only has like 2 or 3 people in it than the big idea I have, which probably has a lot more people in it and probably involves a lot more travel and other stuff. Not because I would quit. I don't think I'd ever quit, but just because it wouldn't be
it could take 5 years. Though.
Yes, it wouldn't be as immediate or exciting. And for me, I've been spoilt with albums. If I want to have an album out next Friday, I just put my head down and get an album out next Friday, and it's very immediate. And I think I need to prove to myself that I can make something. Maybe not 4 or 5 films, but like one crappy film. Not crappy, but one just like write it, edit it, put it together, put it up on YouTube, get some feedback. Just kind of do the rough and ready This is what John Cross did the first time he got back in the saddle, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm on board. That's the way to do it, definitely.
Do you think that's better? And
although when you say 2 or 3 people, you try to get a few more people in there too. I just wonder. I worry sometimes with a script with a cast that tight. I wonder if it can get a little dull. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. And chances are. It has potential to get a little dull, but
if it's only 3 people, it means you're going to need each of them a lot,
right?
And I don't know who you have in mind, but I mean, just keep in mind, no one, and this is me, the life coach, talking to you right here.
Yes, I want that.
No one is as into this story as you are. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
And I say that only because that's the same for me. You know, like I'm like, this is the most important thing on earth. And then, other people are like, yeah, I got to go in 45 minutes. Yeah.
Because you made how many films before Freaky Farley? There's like, what, 6, 7? You had the Druids, and then you had Sam.
Druids and Obtuse Todd, I think. So.
Oh, only 5 then, okay.
Only, yeah.
Only 5. No, but I'm saying, I thought it was a lot more.
Yeah, we did the Paperboy. I don't know if that counts, so that would make it 6.
6. So I was close with 7. That's good.
Yeah.
I wonder, you've got a lot of young fans now over the last few years who are trying to like usurp me and some of your older fans as your biggest fan, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm still the OG there. That's what I'm claiming.
People come up to me for autographs, and I'm like, "Get out of here! You're no fan. Where were you when John Cross was championing us? Where were you?
Yes,
you were diapers back then. Get out of my face."
Have they even gone back and listened to those interviews on the diner? That's what I want to know. Those fledgling interviews we did like 12 years ago now, or something, like 11 years ago. Like it was a long time ago, right?
Yeah, Local Legend turns 10 this year. That's wild.
Wow. Yes, that's fantastic. And I had seen. Well, you put River Beast out before that, right? So. Yeah, and then I had reviewed Freaky Farley and Manch Vegas before that, and then River Beast was coming out just as I was interviewing you, I think, for Manch Vegas. So, but no, so it
you tell us, like, I don't know how much you want to give away, and frankly, like, do your thing.
I'll give it all away. I don't care. Like, I'll give it all away because I tell you what, I was watching today. Kevin Smith was talking about the alternate script for Clerks 3. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
Are you a Smith fan at all? Or
I like him. I haven't seen Clerks 3, but I'm a fan.
Okay, so Clerks 3 is exactly what you would expect it to be. It's in the quick stop, Dante, Randall, the usual, right?
They end up making a movie.
And they end up basically making Clerks 1, right.
Right.
He did an alternate script, like the first script, and it was prior to his heart attack, prior to sort of and it was all fantasy, and it took some stuff from the headlines, like there was a cinema shooting in it and some other stuff, but it was like this dark, epic, weird. You don't even know really where he got the idea from, but there's a video online of him going through the story of it, and all it made, and it was Jeff Anderson who plays Randall, who's like, I'm not making that movie. Like, it doesn't matter how much you ask, and doesn't matter how much you pay me. Like, I'm never making that movie, which is sort of weird because he's the lead character in this particular version of Clerks 3, and Dante is very much in the background. But anyway, so Jeff Anderson put the kibosh on it, and Kevin Smith went back to the drawing board, wrote the Clerks 3 everyone expected him to write, and Jeff Anderson agreed to do it. So, but in listening to the abandoned script, I'm like, that's the movie I want to see. Like, Clerks 3 was fine, but it was exactly what you expected, right? It was exactly what it said on the tin. I want to see that other one where Kevin Smith was sat at home going, I'm going to write this mad crap, and what is this, and this is crazy, and this is weird. Like, I want to go and, there was this whole thing with Randall waiting in a car park for a movie that wasn't going to come out for another year, and then this small like village grows up around him, and he kind of becomes the de facto mayor of this small town. It was this really like weird fandom, far out kind of waiting for Godot kind of thing. And I'm like, I want to see the deep, dark, weird, twisted Clerks. So saying that, Kevin Smith talking about his ideas certainly made me want to see it. So I've got no problem talking about my ideas on the understanding that A, they might change, and B, that hopefully it makes people want to see this thing. Because that's the other thing this podcast is meant to do, is take some of the loyal After Movie Diner listeners on this journey and then hopefully award them with, what I hope they understand will be a very scrappy, like I have very high aspirations, but I also am fully aware that the first couple of things I make on this new filmmaking journey are going to be very rough around the edges, very scattershot, not the best acting, not the best directing. I'm not going to know how to use the lenses first out the gate. I'm going to try where I can, but like you watch what Charlie was doing, even in Freaky Farley, and watch what he does on Magic Spot. Like, it's the same director, but it's worlds apart in terms of like where he's putting the camera and how he's editing it and so on and so forth. I mean, the shot around the sequence around the fireplace, for example, in Magic Spot and in black and white with the three of you, and I mean, it's just for an independent film, it's an epically beautiful sequence, and him shooting through the flames and all that, it's beautiful. So I'm going to try some of that stuff, but I mean, who knows if it's going to come off. So the idea then, and then we'll get on a little bit onto the Motown method, and I have a question for you before we then talk about the pit. So I have two ideas right now. The one idea is because I have this house now and it has a bit of property, and it's kind of got some neat rooms in it, and one of the ideas was sort of like a siege film, like an old school 70s stripped back, not many people in it, but you could kind of add people as it goes along. Sort of like a grumpy middle-aged man in his house kind of gets set upon by, and Jim was saying, it should be supernatural, like he should be set upon by like ghosts or something, and to sort of bring the horror thing in. But I also kind of like the idea of doing maybe just like a kind of stripped back action film. That's really just more of I don't have any granular information about that idea. That's just sort of, as I move around my house, I start going, I could see this, and I could see that, and I could see this shot, and I could see this sequence. The only thing I have against that idea, more than anything, is that it would involve, to really pull it off, I think I could get away with some fight sequences, but to really pull it off, especially in like a modern kind of setting, you would need probably like some kind of fire or explosion or gunplay or something, and that's just very hard to pull off if you don't have after effects, or if you don't have pyrotechnics experience. So that's where, and I don't know whether I could, who's burglarizing a house or who's sieging a house in 2023 without some kind of weaponry? You know what I mean? Like, how do you write your way around that? Unless it was ghosts. But then again, you've got to then do the effect of it being a ghost. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah. But
I mean, post Alec Baldwin, it's like I don't want to be anywhere near any kind of like anything that is in any way potentially dangerous, because like if someone gets hurt for my dumb movie, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's I wasn't suggesting I would ever have. I was talking about like I would have a toy gun and then put After
even
Effects.
Like honestly, I'm so paranoid that I'm like, what if I'm playing with a toy gun in the driveway, and then someone drives by and says, "Oh my God, there's a standoff going on," and they shoot at me. You know what I mean? Like it's like I'm always thinking of those kind of crazy scenarios. It's like. We have to stay safe because none of this is worth anything. But I mean, I like that. Yeah, I personally would want to get out of the. We got to get out of the house.
Right.
Whether it be flashbacks. Flashbacks is a good way to get out of the house for one thing. And then I do like the idea hostage negotiations are always fun. So if there's someone on the outside, talking in with someone on the inside, that could be some fun back and forth. But
that's actually a really good idea, because that limits the action but makes the dialogue or the situation, the tension of the situation, kind of the action. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it could still be a ghost. I mean, that would be wild too if the negotiator was a psychic negotiator.
You're now giving me all these ideas, and I can't use those. But
you can use them, of course.
It's a great idea. The psychic negotiator. That's a fantastic idea. It's the reason why you make the films you do, so is that you can come up with ideas like that on the spot. The other idea, which I started to write back during quarantine, was, again, and it was sort of to play on the fact that I had a built-in audience, was this idea of the After Movie Diner, the movie, which would be more like kind of Monty Python's Meaning of Life, but it would be in the sense of, the big evil corporation is trying to shut down. The idea behind this one was someone buys radio flange goblets. So radio flange goblets are a real thing in this movie. A big corporation buys radio flange goblet, and they make the decree that all shows on their network have to make a 53% whatever in the ratings, or whatever that is, right? Something like Speed, right? So it has to stay above 50%. Right. And the After Movie Diner always manages to just squeak by, but they want to kill the show. Yeah. And it was sort of, and then they were, but it was surreal. It was weird. I remember the opening sequence. My character, thinly based on me or whatever, goes into the bathroom and he's sort of doing his morning, brushing his teeth or whatever. And there is an imaginary friend or an imaginary person that only he can see that's hovering above his bathtub, who's talking to him about stuff. And it was, it had all these kind of surreal things in it. Yeah. But what I wanted to do was sort of take the idea. What was nice about the After Movie Diner, the movie, was that I could write it like the sketches in the After Movie Diner, and make it a little bit more surreal and freewheeling and my kind of humor. One thing, I just saw Jay Mayo in Vegas while I was out in Vegas, and one thing I was talking to him about was the strength of your films and a lot of independent films I watch is that they are unapologetically in the voice of the people,
makers,
right? The makers. Yeah. And they're not trying to, the reason why I loved your films, and I went down the road with yours, and I've told this story before, but a lot of the films I was getting at the time was independent filmmakers trying to be George A. Romero, or trying to be Edgar Wright, or trying to be someone that they weren't. Yeah. And the Siege idea is a bit like that for me. It's that's just a genre idea that I'm like, well, I know the beats in that film. I could probably just write it as a genre film. Go ahead, man.
This is what I often do with Charlie. It's okay, I like this whole world of the After Movie Diner, but I also like the Siege idea. But it's what, the After Movie Diner is kind of lacking a little bit of focus, maybe, right, if it's all these things, and the Siege is lacking a little variety. Bring them together, have the Siege be a part of the story of the
so kind of like a Dog Day Afternoon of the afternoon.
Seriously.
Dog Day After Movie Diner. There we go, right there. Where, because isn't that
talk
when
about
he's
not rolling off the tongue? I love a title that does not roll off the tongue. It so doesn't roll off the tongue that then it comes back and it does. You know what I'm saying?
No, I like that idea of sort of saying, well, what if in order to save the diner, me and Jim take hostages or something?
Or a disgruntled film director comes
and takes. So that's just the middle act of the movie. It's not even the whole plot. It's just the middle act.
Right. Yeah. His movie wasn't well received on the diner, and so that would be fun.
And that generates interest again in us. and allows us to stay on the air. And so all these things could happen that would infuriate the corporate bosses even more. Of course, the ending would have to be, how do we ultimately defeat the corporate bosses? Do we end up like doing some scheme where we buy Radio Flange Goblet out from under them because of our renewed interest? Or do we give up on the diner and end up, going off and doing something else? Or do we take the diner national and suddenly it's on TV and the corporate bosses lose us from the airwaves or something? You know what I mean? Like you have to have something where they either succeed or they fail so drastically that's the whole point of the movie.
Or you go so far back to square one that you're like, none of it
matters.
No, you're just talking to someone in a diner without being recorded, and that's the boom,
right.
That's the ultimate. Like, hey, you know what I just figured out? I just like talking movies with you. Who cares about all this stuff? I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that.
So there we go. You've now combined two of the ideas. So the third idea is the most ambitious idea.
Ooh, this is the one that we might hold off on because it's so ambitious.
Yeah, well, the idea here was, and again, I have a bit of a plot, but I'm not going to go too much into the plot. But the idea was basically twofold. It was, first of all, I love detective films, and there aren't enough detective films. And it's funny that I was thinking along this line because, with Knives Out and Glass Onion and stuff, suddenly detective films are like now big story again. But back when I was first thinking of this idea, they weren't. But first of all, detective films are great because the action or the drama is all interhuman interaction. It's not, you don't necessarily have car chases and shootouts. It's all just, even if your lead detective gets drugged, as they often do in these movies, or beat up, it's a little scene. It's not like some big action scene.
Yeah.
So it would just be, I'd be able to be the lead, I'd be able to be the detective, I could kind of go from place to place following this plot. So that kind of gives you, but then also the reason why it was a bigger idea was the idea that all my friends and filmmaking friends and people who'd be willing to be in the film kind of live in these disparate towns around America. You're up in Massachusetts, Jay's down in Colorado, my friends are in Pittsburgh. I could get George Stover from Don Dola's films in Baltimore and so on. And the idea would be that it would sort of be one of those detective road movies, maybe like a Missing Persons thing, where he has to go from place to place, and then each place you're getting some money on the screen. You're getting some production value on the screen. You're getting different
the skyline and whatnot.
You're getting different people in the script. So the movie constantly changes who the cast is because every town I go to, there's three characters and blah blah blah.
And you're
blah.
not asking that much of each person because
I'm in town for a weekend. All I need you for is a day and a half, and then I'm off to Baltimore for the next three scenes or whatever. You know what I mean? It's more work for me. But I don't mind that. And
it's fun to go on road trips too.
Exactly. So that was ambitious. And along the way, I know people up in Michigan and all over the place. Like I could really make this, a big epic thing. So that was the bigger idea, and I was forgetting. There was two things to tell you about that idea. I forget what the second thing was, but basically it was the idea of it's detective, it's a missing persons, it's a the plot and the tension and whatever is the excitement of it. I could write here are the Massachusetts scenes. I write 2 or 3 Massachusetts scenes. Here are the Baltimore scenes, 2 or 3 scenes, and it could be as comical or as serious as I would want to make it because my moods and my styles go wildly between both. I like really, serious, slow 70s car driving movies, like Two Lane Blacktop or whatever. But I also like and The Long Goodbye, like the Robert Altman detective movie. But then I also like the more kind of upbeat, actiony, comedic stuff like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or the more or Fletch, or whatever. Yeah. So I could bring all of that into it.
Fletch is a good one, because he's got those set pieces.
Yeah.
With like the pilots, we got a good scene with them. We have like Alan Stanwyck's parents up in Provo or whatever,
right.
and just like all these little things, and that would fit exactly. So for filming reasons, you suffer the most, but it's like you should. That's the way it should be anyway.
Exactly, and then I'm not asking a lot of people. My only thing with that is is that I start to go. I start to think of things like, well, Kim and I currently only have one car, but so I can't use that car because if I'm away at the week, so. Yeah. Does my detective just rent cars all the time, or do I wait till I can get like a set? Like I start going down these, and I don't know how to stop myself doing this because you want the same car throughout the movie. You don't.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, no one will notice. Honestly, yeah.
I know, but because I could. You're right. I could rent a car in Pittsburgh, rent a car in Baltimore. It wouldn't matter. Like I could just rent different cars each time. But then. Does that mess with so many?
Like we honestly get away with so much little stuff like that, just like shots of a person's reaction that are in a completely different location in a completely different way, or even just so people don't notice those things,
No, I guess not.
So yeah, definitely don't sweat that part. But
know what I'm saying though, like just to have like consistency. If you're seeing him get out of a car and walk across a car park,
I feel the same way. I want it to be, and I overthink it like crazy. And I'm like,
okay, good.
Charlie,
just
people going to notice? People going to notice this or this? And I come up with all these elaborate ways to explain away like why things are inconsistent, and then we end up cutting them because it doesn't even matter.
Right.
So.
No, I know, and I should think more like that. I should really think more like that. So I don't know. And maybe we slam all three ideas together. I don't know. Like maybe it's
I do like slamming ideas together because I think what we don't realize is that every time we have an idea, it's thinner than we think it is.
It's way thinner. My three ideas are really just. Genre ideas. They're not. I don't even necessarily. I have characters. I have shots in my head. I have various things I could go into that wouldn't translate just on a podcast. But yeah, they're just things I know I could shoot and things I know I could write. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. And so I mean, going back as far as we've been doing it, this is how it's been for us. Like. River Beast. It was like what a cool. We had an idea for a movie about tutors.
Yeah,
we had an idea for a movie about a river beast, and we're like, yeah, we'll combine them. It's perfect, And all the movie, Freaky Farley. Basically, the whole plot was the first 50 minutes, and then we're like, well, we need to just write what would happen in part 2 and have that happen in the remaining 30 minutes,
Right. And I think it's more. I tell you what, I'm having trouble with, and this will be a good move into the Moturn Method, which is a book you wrote and put together from a lot of these sayings, ideas, thoughts, theories, and things that really over your podcast, the Moturn Media Infomercial podcast, you have been kind of dropping these ideas throughout. We've talked about these ideas before on the show, but you published this book, The Moturn Method. I have it here in my hand. It's fantastic. I've been looking through it. And you have lots of great chapters. As I go through it, you've got No Wrong Way, Tell Everyone, You're a Bad Judge of Your Own Work, Say Yes to Your Ideas, all this kind of stuff. Give it away. All works are flawed. Fund your own projects. All this is... If I can't extol the virtues of this book enough, it's got some great little... notes and theories and ideas in there.
Those are just the chapter titles. I mean, and frankly, those are fantastic.
Right. Just the chapter titles alone are enough to kick the creative's butt into high gear. But talk to us about putting the book together as well, because I want to promote the book, even though I hear that it's selling very well. I hear you've sold over 250 copies.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, that's amazing. Yeah, and so that's fantastic. And people contact me for real. And
dude, you'll probably find that for independent publishing, that's probably huge. I don't know many people who have sold over 250 copies. But sorry, carry on. I interrupted.
No, you can interrupt with compliments anytime you want. So yeah, I don't. And, on Twitter I would occasionally do like Moturn wisdom. I'd say Moturn wisdom, and kind of have like a sentence or two on those, and then like it just dawned on me. I was like, I got some gosh darn wisdom in here that I could write a book, and it's the whole practical thing too. It's like, all right, like I already know all this information in my head. It's just a matter of sitting down and writing it, and so. It was just when I wasn't writing, and I'd be thinking about it and jot down on my phone basically those chapter titles, Right. And then when I had time to write, I just look at my list of chapter titles, and like I knew exactly what I wanted to say about say yes to your ideas. Like, yeah, boom, that just rattle off. And each chapter is like a page and a half, 2 pages. So, so yeah, and then I just kept doing it till I was like, yeah. That's all I have to say.
Well, because you see such insane gumph. I mean, I don't know I know you're not big on many other social media platforms apart from Twitter, but you see such insane gumph on these adverts that come across Facebook or Instagram or one of these other platforms that have a lot of video ads that interrupt your enjoyment of the platform, with people trying to, snake oil salesmen basically being like, this is how I wrote 10 successful books in a fortnight, and you're like, I hate him already. Just the first sentence of the pitch. I hate already. You know what I mean? Anyone who's telling me how he did something, I'm just like, yeah.
My pitch is basically like, nothing's going to come of it.
Right. Well, because for every guy who's telling you he made, $10 million in a week, there's 10 million people who didn't even make $1 in a week. You know what I mean?
And it's like, who cares about what happens with it in terms of success? This is about finishing a project, like thinking of a project, going through the process of making it, and then putting it out there. And who knows what happens after that? But anyone who guarantees success is crazy.
And then the social media, I'll guarantee you 50,000 organic non-robot followers on Twitter in a month. I've tried it, Jeff's tried it, and or whatever. And you're just like,
I've seen that on YouTube a couple times, those ads, and it's just like it's kind of cult like,
It's snake oil salesman. It's drink the Kool-Aid. It's ridiculous.
What's frustrating is like it must work to some degree, that people keep doing it.
Right. It's like that Nigerian prince email scam has to have worked, otherwise they wouldn't keep sending it out. You know what I mean? But unless they're just really doggedly hoping that one day it works, I don't know.
Maybe they're just doing it as a bit. They're just like. I want to make an impact. I mean, they have made quite an impact on the world. You say Nigerian prince, everyone knows.
Everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? Maybe the pitch itself or the spam itself is enough.
That's art,
right?
Wow, that's an art form, right there.
It is. But no, what I often think they're also what they're often selling these things is very cynical. What they're often selling is they're selling the concept of success, like that. The only art that matters is the art that's successful, and I'm here to say that's, and you're here to say that's massively wrong.
Yeah.
And actually, the only art that matters is what matters to you. End of story.
And just the art that you actually create.
Yes.
The one thing that a lot of people talk about it more than do it, and so that's ultimately the main point of the book. It's like your brain gives you an idea. It's your duty to see it through. And even that means you're renting cars in Pittsburgh. Think of like like you're waiting in line.
That's the name of the movie, Renting Cars in Pittsburgh. That's a great name for a movie. Yeah.
There's moments of pure dejection, throughout the whole process. And when you're going to be in line at a Hertz rental place in Pittsburgh, you're just going to be like, what am I doing? Is this movie even any good?
Other rental car companies are available. We are not sponsored in any way by Hertz.
Avis, I don't know which other one. National. Anyway, you're all. We're accepting bids.
Yes.
But anyway, but it's like, and I mean, when we're filming, it's a jolly good time, but I mean, it's also like it's extremely draining. It's like it just sucks the life force out of you, and there's there's so much to think about at all times, you know. And
well, I think it was the last day we were filming with you guys at Charlie's house. I wasn't in it, but I was there, and Carl was there, and I was holding umbrellas and stuff. That it was one of those things where not only do you go, well, wait, actually, we still have 2 or 3 more scenes after. You know, we'd all been outside, we'd been filming a long time, and then you're like, well, we'll have some pizza now, but then, like, there's 2 or 3 more scenes we've got to get to. But also, even before we got to the pizza, Charlie's, well, actually, while we're all in this scenario, let's get 3 or 4 shots from another angle. Let's make sure, because you go, oh, we'll come back to it, but then you come back to the scene, something's changed, the shadows are different, the light's different, you're standing in a different place, you've got a stain on your jacket, whatever it is, and then you can't go back. Always film the cutaways or the different angles while you're all there. But like you say, it gets exhausting because you're like, oh, do we have to do the scene again? I've watched it 8 times. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I feel that way. I'm just saying that that's.
And I want to feed you too. Honestly, right. I can hear people's stomachs growling, and it's like, and like, yeah, Stanley Kubrick pushing his actors to do the same thing over and over again. At least they were getting paid, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit of a Kubrick at it. I'm going to be like, come on, Matt, do it a 25th time. I'm not going to be like that, but that would be funny. It would be funny to say I'm making a movie and like write scenes of script, and really all I'm doing is going around and torturing my friends,
tossing people around just for the joy. It is fun. In fact, I remember when we were making Magic Spot, it was like a rare scene where I wasn't in it. Remember, I was sitting in the director's chair.
Yeah.
Like, what is this called? That orchestrating your performance of "We're the Only People at This Beach." And I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah. I was like, no, John, come forward a bit. Everyone move this way. Jim, pick up that instrument, whatever it was. Yeah, that was great though. I hope that on the Magic Spot Blu-ray there is an uncut version of just me performing that song.
Oh yeah, we could. Yeah, that's a good idea. We could definitely do that.
You should have definitely done that anyway.
Just have the movie just stop. The movie extended.
The movie should just be my performance, and then everything else that happens is it's fairly relevant. No, but you're right. I think that you've got to be, and that's why I was sort of thinking like, well, if the bulk of the stuff is on me, but then as I turn up in each town, there's kind of like fun stuff to be done. You got 5 pages to shoot, not a lot, right? 5 pages in each town kind of thing, and then by which point you've kind of got 25, 30 pages shot, and then the rest is, whatever it is, you just kind of fill it in. That's what I was kind of thinking anyway. But I think what I want to get from this conversation and the question that I had about is the writing, right? I've got to start really writing. Yeah. I've finished my trade show in Vegas. I've got a long weekend coming up, and it's right, John. You've done the podcast. You've said you're going to do it. You've got the lens for the camera. You've done all the prevaricating you can possibly do. Now you've got to sit down in front of the page and start writing this thing. Yeah. Talk to me about how you and Charlie tackle that. Do you write a lot of outlines and stuff, or do you go, let's write this scene we've been laughing about for 3 weeks and then see where that goes? How do you start with the blank page, you and Charlie?
Yeah. We'll usually start with like a notes session or 2, like just get some basic ideas on where we're going to go. But we only a couple hours on that. And then it's like just start writing and realizing the fact that we're going to end up going back and altering things, characters who started off kind of like angry characters midway through. It's like, you know what? This guy should actually be happy. Now let's go back, rewrite all the scenes where he was angry. And then, and so it's a lot of that. And I think that's good because like to some degree, preparation is procrastination, right? Like you can tell yourself, well, I'm just trying to sort out these notes, but it's like, are you really, or are you just dreading the idea of actually writing the dialogue, Yeah. And
if anything, I'm probably, and it's a bit like music. I'm probably better at melodies than I am at lyrics in terms of coming up with them. I can always pick up a guitar and come up with a chord sequence. There's never a time that I've picked up a guitar and not been able to play 3 or 4 chords. But putting lyrics to those, it's not that I can't write lyrics. I can write lyrics and I can bash off lyrics pretty quickly, but it's always more of a chore than the writing and the melody. To me, the dialogue, because I come from sketch comedy, as long as I know where the scene's beginning and where the scene's ending, or at least have a vague idea where the scene's ending, writing the dialogue is pretty easy. It's the structure that I have a real hard time with, which is why I thought for my first film out the gate, I might do an after movie diner style movie, because people aren't going to expect a lot of structure. They're going to expect a lot of jokes and weirdness and whatever.
What was I going to say?
Sorry, I interrupted you. So you and Charlie sit down, you do a bit of notes.
But it's not always that way either. Like River Beast, like I wrote the whole thing, sent it to him, and then he rewrote the whole thing, sent it to me, and so we've had different ways of doing it for sure. One thing is like it's always going to be too talky. I think like when you are writing dialogue and you're getting into it, like back and forth, and then on the day of filming, if you haven't edited it, you're like, oh God, why did I write so many lines? Like every single time we sit down. And so like, even after you go back and edit it, it's still going to be too long. And so it's just, and that's like when you're writing it, just let it come out. But it's definitely worth going back and being like, do I really need this line? And also just thinking about the fact like, oh man, I just gave an actor 6 sentences in a row. There's no way the actor is going to get through that, you know? So it's like a game though. Like all these limitations that like Brian De Palma didn't have to worry about, you know, when he was writing a script. Like we're dealing like with so many practicalities that get in the way of just pure creativity. But that makes it even more of a fun puzzle to figure out and more an accomplishment when you do it.
Apologies. We sadly have to pause for some ads. Maybe if more of you supported us on Patreon. But there it is. The After Movie Diner doesn't endorse any of these advertisers. We don't even know what you're going to hear. It's forced technical AI wizardry. And don't fool yourself. None of us are in control. The robots are coming, and they want to sell us insurance.
So I'm looking through Moten Media while you're saying these words. I'm looking through the Moten method while you're talking about this, and I'm looking to see some of your things that might fit the situation I'm talking about. Kind of, it's not exactly writer's block because I'm excited to get writing. It's that.
What happens next, right?
Right. It's the plot. The plot is the hardest thing. But I also know from writing sketches, you know, there were a lot of sketches I did on the diner where, and this used to be my method for writing sketches, and it was great because I used to know that I could start any sketch, didn't matter what idea I had, if it wasn't going anywhere, if there wasn't going to be a punchline at the end of it, the punchline could just be, well, what's that in the corner? Oh, the after movie diner. And then the music could kick in and it didn't really matter. Like I could do that Python thing of not really having a punchline and knowing that it was going to lead into the diner anyway. But then there were other sketches I did that as I started the same way every time, blank page, start writing the sketch. And suddenly I'm like, oh, this is a Sherlock Holmes scene, or this is a Star Trek scene, or this is a whatever. I know how this is going to begin. I know how this is going to end. And I know what the comedic hook of the sketch is going to be. But I didn't sit down and go, I'm going to write a Sherlock Holmes scene in which Watson is pervily looking out the window at every single woman who's walking by. Yeah. I just happen to watch enough Sherlock Holmes as a kid that I know that Watson is always the ladies' man, and it's funny to kind of exaggerate that. So, but then other stuff would come in through the sketch. So I'm not scared necessarily about starting writing without every part of the plot worked out. But you can also, like you say, get very dialogue heavy and rambly if you don't know where it's heading.
Yeah, but once you have something on paper, then you have something to work with too. Right. You know, and so it's like you can write a scene in kind of being like, look, I'm probably going to have to go back and touch that up, but it's like it'll get me to where I need to go next. Or another thing is just be like, I'm going to need a transition between scene 10 and scene 11. I don't know what it is, but rather than sit here and struggle, I'm just going to write scene 11 and, and it'll, do what's coming easy,
Right.
like, spend your time working on what's coming easy. And then it might resolve itself anyway, the problem.
Right, which is sort of what, as I said, that's kind of what they did with Monty Python, was they sort of said, well, we've picked the subject, Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
Everyone scatter and write Knights of the Round Table sketches.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back and kind of go, well, where are we heading? And they go, well, everyone's going to get the Grail, so that's a thing, and let's all point this way, and da-da-da. And even they didn't come up with an ending. At the end, Arthur gets arrested by the police. That's not an ending. Like, you know what I mean? It's just... It's silly,
it
but
stops.
It just stops.
I love it.
The only one that really has an ending is Life of Brian, and it has an ending because, well, Christ was crucified, so Brian gets crucified, and like it just, they know that's the end of the movie. Like there's no, like the beginning is the manger and the end is the crucifixion, because that's the story.
What happened.
Like they didn't come up with. It's not like they came up with a great ending. You know what I mean? And
also, well, that's a good inspiration right there. There are no new ideas,
right.
And so, and especially, take a framework, from a 50, 60, 70-year-old movie as your especially if plot is the thing that you have the comes the least easy to you, just borrow a plot.
I'd sort of had this idea. I don't know how much you know about this stuff, but there's the UK. One of the things the UK make, just like the America makes great 45-minute like procedural TV shows, right? Whether it's Chicago Hope or ER or House or whatever, it's that. Or SVU or Law and Order, one of those, right?
All those, yeah.
You just do really good 45-minute. Here are your characters. They're off to the races. There's a thing to be solved, and by the end of it, it's solved, right? In the UK, the thing that we do really well is these. They're basically a movie every week, but it's these longer, normally detective-based things. So there's Midsummer Murders, Inspector Morse, Prime Suspect, Cracker. I mean, there's hundreds and we grew up watching them, hundreds and hundreds of those. And, they're normally in the Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes kind of vein, even if they're updated to, whatever was contemporary at the time. They're normally within that kind of whodunit mold. And I had a thought where I'm like, well, Midsummer Murders season 5 episode 8, like how many people are going to necessarily remember that plot?
Yeah.
I could go to that plot and maybe do that or something and just steal it.
It's not even stealing. It's like,
right.
because mysteries follow, how many variations on a mystery are there? Not many, not many. And so you take it and just naturally your plot ends up going in different directions. But like if you have something to kind of, base it on, I mean, look at us with Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2,
Well, we are just doing great segues. This conversation is just flowing in all the directions I want it to, because my next question was, how much do you guys watch? Like, you're going to make a film like River Beach, you're going to make a film like Slingshot Cops, some of these things that have specific genres to them. How much movies do you watch beforehand? I know you watch a lot anyway. You guys do your VHS movie nights and things like that. But how if you're going to write Slingshot Cops, did you guys sit down and go, well, let's watch 48 Hours and Lethal Weapon and blah, 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 blah? Or did you just feel like, I know enough of the beats that I don't need to rewatch them?
Yeah. Early in the early days, it wasn't like studying up for a specific movie. It was watching a bunch of movies and just saying, "Ooh, we need that type of moment to happen in one of our movies," and jotting it down. Quotes, like "I don't want tenderness" is a great moment from. I can't even remember what movie, but we lifted it, and so it's never like doing my homework in a genre. It's more seeing something and saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be? Imagine Kevin McGee delivering that line," like that kind of thing. So yeah, that's my thing. But and we're doing Evil Puddle right now, which is writing it, and it's got like a disaster movie vibe to it. So Charlie especially has been watching some good 70s disaster movies and being like, all right, we need this to happen and that to happen. But I mean, and speaking of which, like once ER was on the TV at work, and it was a scene where like the ex sees the guy sees his ex and wants to go help her with her groceries, and but then the new guy's there, you know. And I was like, oh, that's a great scenario. And that, you know, that happens in River Beast because of that, you know,
right.
Where I end up getting punched in the gut, you know. But yeah, there's no original ideas, and borrow from our plots if you want to. Also,
right.
We definitely won't sue you.
If you're doing a disaster-like movie, you have to cast me as the Donald Pleasance character because he was in all those films.
Yeah.
Like, there's always an Englishman who shows up and is like doomsaying or whatever in those movies. Because I'll keep pushing till I get a bigger role. That's really what I'm looking for. That's the thing. I just want one of the films where you're like, in this one, we're going to give John like a meaty supporting role to do because I'll show up for it, dude. I'll be there.
Oh yeah, I mean, but let's not sell short your other roles.
My catalog of cameos that I've done. Yeah.
Wow, please, Metal Detector Maniac, that's way above cameo.
True.
And Magic Spot. I mean, you have a whole song in the middle of the movie. So let's
and I grew my hair out for Boston Johnny and shaved to a goatee. I really go the full distance for my parts.
I've seen none of it. I've seen absolutely zero of any of it. I can't wait to see it.
And in the secret sequel that you're doing, I've already decided what my facial hair is going to be for that. So,
we did that too. We're just like, all right, John's going to come up with a big backstory to his character, and it's going to involve hair. So we're in.
It is. The best thing was still when I showed up to do Metal Detector Maniac. And I was like, I had this big thing about putting like talcum powder in my hair and being an older character. And you just took me aside and went, dude, we're already over 40. We're already old enough. Like, stop it. You're like, your hair's already going grey. You don't have to put talcum powder anymore, you know?
That is anything. Like, because McGee was like this age when we started filming with him. And we were 22. And we were like, can you believe we have like a real man, like a grown man in our movies? But now that we're that age, it's like, oh, I still feel the way I did when I was 22.
And you realize that if I follow that same structure, I'm going to be 60 before I make my best film. So
yeah, but that's fine. And you have a lot of life ahead of you from that point on too.
So talking about inspiration and talking about movies and do we watch movies, do we not watch movies? I have been either consciously or subconsciously, and also just because it's one of my favorite genres, I have been watching a bunch of detective films, so we'll see which ones of those eke into it. And what you find when you look up, because one of the things I often do when I'm thinking about a genre, thinking about writing a genre, is I'll kind of go to one of those lists and I'll look up, 20 of the best detective films, or 20 of the rarest detective films, or 20 of the films you should watch that you probably haven't, like all these lists. And what's worrying about like the detective genre is when you do that, it's all the same like 30 films. There'll be like 2 or 3 film noirs that everyone's seen, like Out of the Past or Maltese Falcon. There'll be the modern ones like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys and Knives Out, and then there'll be a few, a couple from the 70s and a couple from the 80s, and then that's the list. And I'm like, there has to be more detective films out there, but I think it's because they do so much detective, police, whatever stuff on TV, that I think it rarely kind of gets a look in on film. But I'm thinking of bringing it because I like the idea also of eventually being able to kind of do a series where my character, detective character, kind of goes throughout a series of ridiculous, and they don't have to be serious mysteries. They can be surreal or weird or whatever. But that's
and like if they're movie related somehow too. You know, as you're the after movie diner guy, if it's a matter of sorting through old footage or something to get to solve something, that might be interesting.
Well, also having filmed stuff years ago,
You
but
have
also,
a library. Yeah.
But also, I mean, even looking at me in Local Legends, I look completely different now. I mean, that was 10 years ago,
10
whatever,
years ago.
and 10 years ago, a wife ago. So it was, completely different then. And if you had an outtake from that, I could always splice it into something if I needed to. But
no, I got nothing but the finished product.
Okay, you got rid of all the footage.
Yeah, Charlie's good at archiving, and
You just were like, "That's enough. That's done."
Movie done.
Yes. But one of the big inspirations you've talked about for years and years and years is The Pit. And this was the reason why I asked you to be on this first episode, because I watched The Pit. I got really excited, by the way, after I watched The Pit. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's definitely one of those films that if you are at all like Matt or I, with our, B-movie interests and our independent filmmaking interests, watch The Pit, because it's exciting, but also the story behind it is exciting. And the story behind it plays into kind of what we've been talking about, this idea of inspiration and intention as well, like the intention of a film. And that the finished product is never necessarily going to be what you think it's going to be when you start. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to go with that. And in fact, actually, it might even be better if it's not what you were intending. So give people a little overview of The Pit, and then we'll talk about it, and then wrap up this I think fantastic episode. If people haven't found inspiration from this episode or my initial struggles with writing, then they're not listening hard enough, is what I think. But anyway, man, go on about The Pit.
Shame on those people.
Shame on those people, right?
The Pit, 1981 horror movie. I guess it's technically a Canadian production, but it was filmed in Wisconsin, USA. I'm pretty sure
it was, yes.
And it's got everything I like about that era in horror movies, and just like it, you can feel the localness of where they filmed it. This is not a Hollywood production. This is just like a small town in Wisconsin, and like you can feel it, and the acting, everything about it is so weird. And it's about a kid, a creepy who's got a babysitter and that he's got a crush on, and it's all kinds like awkward, uncomfortable moments. And also he's got a teddy bear that he talks to. One great moment. It's like obviously the teddy bear is just in his mind, except there's one scene where the teddy bear actually moves. Yeah, so it's like, oh no. Teddy bear's really alive, and it's just like when you're watching it, you're like, "Oh my god, the teddy bear is actually alive!"
Yes,
and he's got monsters out in the woods that he's been feeding, and then like it turns into a militia movie, where there's like a militia is formed to deal with those guys, and like that kid is gone for about 15 minutes, like the main character vanishes, and again, it's where you're watching it and you're just like, what happened to the kid?
Yeah.
Where did the kid go? And that adds to the joy of it, sort of, in a weird way. It's like just throwing everything you possibly can into a movie to make it entertaining. But ultimately, it's like the scenes with the babysitter and the kid are just, so good, huh?
Yes. And skin-crawlingly cringy. I mean, just really painful. It's fantastic.
I was just watching you sleep.
Yes.
What a great line.
Well, because no babysitter would ever put up with all the things she puts up with. You know what I mean? Like, he literally crawls into the bathtub while she's in the shower, completely naked, and writes, "I love you" on the mirror. At this point, I'm out of the house. I'm not, like, even the watching me sleep thing, like, he watches her sleep and she's, her breast is exposed, and
but it's super close up, too. That's how the scene starts.
Yeah. I mean, it's joyous. Because they're like, well, we need nakedness or nudity to sell this picture, so let's just start with a barely in focus, up close nipple, and then we'll go on from there. It's just wonderful.
somehow it's not like it is uncomfortable, but it's like strangely wholesome too. The whole thing. It has an after school special kind of vibe to it.
Right, because there was also definitely that kind of thing. It's different now, right? Now is very different. The morals are different. The thought process around it are very different. But back then, it was definitely like, as boys discovered their sexuality or whatever, as they were starting to go through puberty or whatever, if they made the odd comment or were caught with a magazine or caught with whatever, it was like, oh, so-and-so, you're such a cad. It wasn't predatory, you know what I mean? It wasn't insidious, even though in this movie it's meant to be both predatory and insidious. There was still that idea of, oh, it's just boys being cheeky. Back in the 80s, that was kind of how it was dealt with. Even though his behavior from the moment she enters the house is like weird, and the fact that they don't even truly establish it. I mean, you see the parents and you see them leave. And then suddenly, like, she's established, but I don't remember it really being explained.
There's a lot of transitions that got lost or just caught by someone who didn't care about, things making sense. He's like, I don't care if it makes sense or not. This is boring. Let's just cut straight to the monster.
The babysitter lives in the house. He's perving on the babysitter next, Don't even question it. It just is what it is. And she minds, but she's like, enough is enough, but all right, do it again,
Yeah.
And then he's like, will you come wash my back in the bath?
I know. And he says, and she gives him a look. He says, I'll be all covered up in suds, And then she says, well, as long as you stay under those suds. And I'm just like, what is this conversation? Oh my God.
And what does it matter? He's a 12, 13-year-old boy. Like, don't be washing his back in the bath.
Suds, don't wash his back.
Yeah. It's so odd.
You know what I like? What about when, like, she's got the boyfriend who's the football player, and then like it feels like so much time jumps, and then suddenly she's got this mustached new boyfriend, and then like the new boyfriend's like, Alan stopped coming around, huh? And she's just like, yeah, even his coach says he doesn't show up for practice anymore. And it's like, it just feels so thrown together,
right?
In an endearing way, though. It's amazing how delightful it is.
So for people who might not be getting from what we're saying, so essentially it's this 12-year-old kid, his teddy bear is telling him to like kill all the bad people in town. And as someone pointed out online, I was reading some reviews online, and it's funny. It's like, on one side, the screenwriter wants us to feel bad for this kid because he's being relentlessly bullied, and therefore somehow these people he kills deserves it. But the kid's not nice to begin with. It's not like the kid is some, like, benevolent, lovely child, and everyone is just shitting on the kid relentlessly. The kid's an asshole to begin with. He deserves the bullying he's getting. Like, that's what's hilarious about it. But anyway, so the kid's being bullied, and then the teddy, and he's lusting after his babysitter, and essentially it was meant to be, as far as the writer was concerned, kind of the child on the precipice of puberty, kind of becoming on the way to becoming kind of like a serial killer sort of thing.
And by all accounts, the screenwriter was dead serious about writing.
Dead serious.
A deep thing,
yes.
Like a real psychological thriller.
Well, his ideas come from the screenwriter, who's a very like stoic Canadian older gentleman now. When you see him interviewed on the Blu-ray, he had two ideas. He had a friend who was working, I think, a bit like you used to work at a kind of a kids group home, but maybe for kids who were slightly more psychologically disturbed, maybe, I don't know, or certainly going through more learning abilities. I don't know the kind of kids you used to deal with necessarily, but and one of the kids wouldn't talk to any humans, but would talk to a ventriloquist puppet that a therapist brought in with him. And then another kid was drawing rich fantasy worlds on paper or whatever, and it would always involve these monsters. And the kid, I don't know if the kid called them, I think the kid basically ended up saying they were troglodytes, but in the group home, the kid was sort of calling them like trolls or something, or
Trollologs is what Jamie calls.
Trollologs is what he calls him in the movie. But the idea is, so he goes, fine, so I have these two ideas. It's going to be a psychologically damaged kid. On one hand, he's going to have this teddy bear that talks to him. That's the ventriloquist puppet. And then on the other hand, he's going to see these monsters. But actually, the end of the movie is meant to be that they're all in his head, and that actually it's not true at all. Which is, by the way, a terrible ending to any movie. When any movie is, it was all a dream, or it was it's all in your head. It's a terrible ending to any movie, and it should be screenwriting 101 never to do that. But this screenwriter swears.
I think the trick is, if it's all a dream, just never show the person waking up. Just let the whole piece be a dream.
Be the dream, right.
But that whole reveal moment just ruins everything. It
does, because someone somewhere thinks it's a twist, but no one watching it thinks that it's an interesting twist at all. So the screenwriter thinks that the entire movie was compromised and ruined by the fact that this tacked-on scene at the end was not on it. Everyone else agrees that the movie's far better without that tacked-on scene, because it's far better to think that there is a pit in Wisconsin that has actual troglodytes in it that need to be fed meat to survive than it is to believe that they're in his head. If they're in his head, why? What's the point? You know what I mean? But so that's a long way around to say that there's this fantastic sequence in the movie where he goes around killing all these bad people, right? So in the lead up, at the beginning of the movie, you're seeing the old woman in the wheelchair. You've got the boyfriend of the babysitter that he fancies. You've got the little girl who plays the prank on him with the bike. Abigail. Abigail?
Yes, it's a very unique. This is the only Abigail I've ever heard of. I love it.
And there's this sequence where he bumps them off like one after one by like luring them to the pit in a variety of ways.
It's fun music playing.
Yeah, it's done like a comedy sequence. It's done like he's pushing an old woman in a wheelchair across a field, which is inherently funny anyway. Like it's inherently funny to have the old woman being like, while he's like wheeling her across a field and bumping her.
Dumps her in a hole, and the trogs eat her.
But then to have like Benny Hill music over the like it's got like old brass band ragtime stuff over the top of it. I'm like halfway through the movie, I'm like, what am I watching? Like the build-up was like fine, and then the end is sort of fine. It sort of fits in with those kind of killer kid genre, like The Good Son or whatever. But there's this middle sequence where he's just
going on. Yeah,
but I loved it. It's because the director watched the rushes, or in the edit suite or whatever, was like, this is slow and turgid, and no one's going to watch him drag people across a field for spurious reasons, and because that's the other thing that they did was they showed, he has to get them from the town center all the way out to this pit in the middle of the woods, and they showed like every bit of this is how he got the old woman across the field. It should have just cut. So he scores the whole thing with this music, and it's fantastic. It just brought me so much joy. I was so happy with it.
Yeah, it's endlessly entertaining, and that's the lesson for me as a movie maker. It's like it's like maybe there was a budget at which that writer's vision could have been realized, in some like thriller drama, psychological thing. But it's like at the budget they were working at, it was not going to happen. And and for us, it's like, our deep attempts to be meaningful are going to flop desperately, pathetically. And so we gotta embrace that.
Well, it's also hilarious because on the disc they're talking to the actor who plays the kid in the movie, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was a big up and comer. Like I was this famous kid who was in the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and blah blah blah. All this stuff that no one remembers anymore, and no one certainly watches anymore. When we watch it, it's just a bunch of unknowns. But when they were putting it together, especially as a Canadian production, like this was meant to be a thing. Like this was like, oh, we got the lead actor from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and the writer of this Canadian drama. Like these were going to be the next names in Canadian filmmaking. And
I don't have that Blu-ray, but now I'm desperate to watch all the extras. That's some good stuff. I've read some articles about it that touched on the stuff you're saying, but I'd love to see these people in the flesh. Wow.
Well, I wish the only thing that the Blu-ray doesn't have is I wish it had the director on it, because it would be great to cut from the writer being like, well, of course, what I was trying to do was a serious story. To cut to the director being like, the monsters are real. and I'm going to have all these militias show up and like shoot them, and we're going to have the blood spurt everywhere, and like we got to get nipples in this picture. You know what I mean? Like I want the director. I want, when we were doing the After Movie Diner before, Jim and I would often hypothesize this kind of cigar chomping, like whatever you need to do to get out of the picture, kid. This kind of thing, right? Yeah. I want that guy. You know what I mean? I want that guy to just be like, so anyway, the writer came to me with this highfalutin idea about murderous children. I went, scrap that, Alan. Let's just get some troglodytes killing people.
It happened today in our conversation where you were telling me your ideas. I'm like, here's what you do. Yeah, right. Put them all together. I don't care if they're completely different tones. It's a mystery movie about a podcaster, and there's a major standoff involved.
Yeah, done. with ghosts.
Ghosts, I already forgot about the psychic negotiator.
The psychic negotiator, that is the best idea.
Could be the title of the movie too, No,
but then it's just one scene in the middle of the film. It's not even about him.
There's precedent, Fargo is called Fargo, but only one scene takes place in Fargo or whatever. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so it's called the psychic negotiator, and it's a lot like Fargo.
Yeah. In that the title does not have a lot to do with the story. Yeah.
So can I seriously steal that idea? Because I already have this vision of a guy outside in like new agey robes with a bullhorn trying to negotiate with ghosts inside.
Yes.
Held Jim and I hostage.
Please take all these ideas. Yeah, I insist. But also don't take them either, because it's hard. Like, people want to give you their ideas and you want to like please them by accepting them. But
that's a genuinely funny idea. Like, that's a genuinely funny. I've never seen that before in a film. I mean, not that it's but I'm just saying the fact that you pulled that out of thin air. I mean, I applaud that. That I've never had an idea that funny. I don't think.
Well, it's just fun. It's just ping ponging. You set up the pins and I knocked them down for you.
Sure. So, but that's hilarious that we went from, well, it could be a serious siege movie with possibly supernatural undertones to being like, well, there's a psychic negotiator, and of course I visualize him as sort of the guy from Beetlejuice who's very. Serious, the tubbier guy with the hair and he's whatever, and he's always talking in kind of ominous tones about stuff he clearly doesn't understand. I see him as like that, but someone dressed in, ridiculous 70s new age, like a turban and silk robes. And
I have 2 words for you.
What's that?
J. Mayo.
J. Mayo is the psychic negotiator. with his mustache.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Man, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yes.
This is exciting. Yeah. So, but let the idea keep on, let it go where it goes to. You don't owe me anything by following through these ideas, and just be careful, because people do like to give you ideas, and it gets uncomfortable, for me, at least, because I feel bad. As soon as someone
is that what happens when I start saying, give me a bigger part, and you're like, oh God, John's saying that again. Like, is it too much? I should just shut up, right?
Oh no, I can handle that. Fine. That's fine. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough because ultimately you have to make the movie's got to get you charged up. Whatever the idea is, has got to be something that gets you to that Avis car counter in Pittsburgh.
I'm an Enterprise card carrying member, by the way. So
are you really?
I mean, every card thing has their free point system. So I mean, it's so funny when I just flew to and from Vegas. On the way, I flew JetBlue. and they're all like, thank you so much for being a JetBlue Miles, blah, blah, blah member. Here's an email, here's a thing, here's a whatever. And I flew back Delta because Delta had the better flight time. And Delta sends me the same shit. Thank you for being a Delta Sky Miles, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I'm never going to fly enough to get any use out of these miles, but whatever.
Well, I'm still amazed that flight is even an option. Is that amazing?
That flight still exists as a thing?
No, just that it existed, that you can fly in airplanes. Isn't that amazing?
I still don't understand it.
I know. Yeah.
Like when it takes off, I go, all right, I get it. You put enough fuel through this engine, it'll propel it into the air, but then it stays in the air. Like I get the concept, like I understand the concept of a rocket because all you do is go and it shoots up into the sky, right?
Yeah.
But a plane gets to a certain point and then just goes forward and never comes back to Earth again. I don't.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and people aren't talking about it enough. I go to the diner. I'm like, how about flight? Huh? Anybody? And no one wants to talk about it.
Well, also, dude, like this. One of the things is people always saying, wow, we've got this thing in our pockets now that has all the information in the world and blah 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 blah. And I go, yeah, that's great. What about fax machines? You put paper, physical paper, into a thing in another continent, and then someone in New York went did, and another piece of paper came out in New York. I don't. Do you know? Like, I still don't understand how that worked.
If the world was wiped out except for me and you, we'd have like rudimentary caveman tools that we'd be able to make, and that would be it.
I don't even know if I could fashion an axe from like leather, wood, and stone. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we have rocks. We just walk around with rocks.
Well, because I mean, how was any of this done? You know what I mean?
But I'm talking to you right now. You're 100 miles away from me or whatever it is, and we can hear
500 miles away from you, I think.
Here whatever the mileage is,
it's a few hundred miles.
It's amazing. What a world.
Yeah. I mean, you're sat in my basement, I'm sat in your upstairs. Are you upstairs there at the moment, or are you still on the ground floor?
I'm in the main I talk about it like it's a palace, but since the mouse, I don't.
No, I know you moved up to your room on the first floor.
How's the mouse situation in your basement, by the way?
I have a company called JP McHale who come round and put traps. So first of all, I'm not particularly squeamish when it came to mice because in New York's apartments, they're a way bigger problem than they are here. Because here the house is so big and there's so many areas of the basement that they can kind of hide and eat the food and I don't care, that it's sort of fine. When we first moved here, I did have one evening where I was sat down in the movie theater at about 2 a.m. watching a movie, and I heard them scuttling above my head in the ceiling. Not. I know what you're saying. Yeah. But no. So I have a company, JP McHale. They put traps everywhere. I also have, I did everything. So I have those traps. I have glue traps all in the ceiling and in the walls and everything of the basement down here. And then I even have one of those plug-in, again, snake oil salesman, but plug-in things that apparently sends out like radar or sonar or whatever it is that's meant to stop mice. I occasionally find, even with all this, I occasionally find a dead one on a glue trap, but very rarely. I mean, not.
I mean, and that's the thing too. I mean, two or three mice a year, but frankly, that's too many that I can handle. Yeah. But we have a little kitty cat now who protects me. So
that's fantastic. Well, you went the nature versus nature way, which is in its own way admirable. I went, give me all of the poisons, technologies, glues, whatever. And I know other people might be listening and being like, "Well, that's horrible, John." And I'm like, "Listen."
They're invading your house.
Right. They have the entire world. If I see them in my garden, live and let live. No problem at all. Yeah. But you come into my house that I paid good money for, Matt. You know what I mean? It wasn't cheap.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
you I'm sorry, you come into my house and you wouldn't, if an invader came into my house and you heard that I'd hit them with a baseball bat, I'd be a hero, right? I'd be a hero.
Into a bear's cave, the bear's gonna
got
crush.
mauled. Yeah, and I got mauled. They'd go, well, it serves you right. You went into a bear's cave.
Exactly.
They say don't poke the bear, Matt, and I'm the bear, and the mice are poking me.
Yeah. Amen.
So yeah, well, listen, the pit has inspired me. You've inspired me.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this episode refreshed and ready to write this weekend, Matt. I've got ideas flowing through my brain. This was the point of it, and.
Well, let me just say, in terms of, and again, here I am bossing you around.
Boss me. I want to, yeah.
In terms of the podcast, like I personally love hearing like the nitty gritty. So like even if it's just you doing a check-in, about like casting, like I couldn't figure out, or if you do film a few scenes, I'd love if you just kind of like recapped it for a quick episode. I'd be on the edge of my seat listening to it, and I think it's cool to like for Slingshot Cops we kind of did that where we were kind of like taking people through each step of the filming process on the podcast, and I would love it if you did that. So.
I'll be editing together. Like I'm hilarious. Just like I love making album covers. I love making movie trailers. So the moment I have any footage, I'll just start making trailers. You know what I mean? There'll be like 85 trailers this movie, and then the movie won't ever come out. You know what I mean? Like that. So that's what I'm doing.
It's like that excitement, like you have a whole day's worth of shots and you're editing them together, and then you're going to pull Kim into the room and be like, watch this. And she's going to be like, oh,
okay, yeah, all right.
You're seeing what the finished product is going to be. She's seeing music yet, and like the editing isn't perfect yet. And so, that's another thing. Like people, you've experienced it with your music, I'm sure too. But like people don't necessarily hear or see exactly what you see.
No.
When you show them a work in progress. So
they don't even, when I play them the finished thing, they go very often, and I love this because I would hate to be fawned over by anyone, but very often people are like, so are you going to mix that? And I go, mix it. It's already been mastered and released.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And they'll go, I wouldn't have sung it like that. Could you sing it differently? And I go, you heard me downstairs singing it 50 different ways, and this was the only way I could sing it. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. And people have no problem telling me that. So that's absolutely fine. I don't surround myself with yes men, Matt. That's not not my style. If anything, I surround myself with either negativity or nonchalance. Either one. I never. Rarely do I do something that elicits a really positive response.
I do like the quote, I don't want to be fawned over. It's good.
I don't want to be fawned over. It's like, what was that line that you really liked in the MILF Manor song that you particularly called out on? I was just listening to MILF Manor again today.
Right.
I'm like, I can't believe I did that song. And it was like, with a history of puritanical something or other.
Yes.
Yeah, Puritans or whatever.
I think it even had a comma in it. I like a rock song line that's so long that it needs to have like a comma and like and go in different directions. But that was a great moment.
It was America, comma, founded by Puritans, have always had a complicated relationship with sexuality. That was the line, and that's the first line in a verse of a rock song.
Yes.
Come on now. That's fantastic. All
right, well, get out there and make a gosh darn write a movie and look, when you're sitting down typing, it seems like it's hard when you say it this way for someone who hasn't written. They're like, what are you talking about? But it's seriously like moving mountains. It takes that amount of willpower.
It does.
And you're sitting there and suddenly you've been staring at the wall for 20 minutes. You're like, come on.
I know.
Got it right. Just do it.
And there's so much distraction these days. There's so much distraction these days. You put it down to like, I'll just go on YouTube and do research, and then suddenly you're watching clips from a 1980s sitcom or something or whatever.
Right. Yes.
One thing I was going to say,
use that as a stepping stone. Like,
yes.
Hear a line in the sitcom and say, "Oh, let's use that line in the next
thing," and then
right, and then you get back to it.
Because I'm sure you find now you're writing your 15th movie or whatever it is you're writing, that you find there are like I do with my songs sometimes, there are tricks, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there are things you can lean on now because you've done it enough. Do you know what I mean? There are things that you can kind of go, oh, well, you know, we'll use these words, or we'll use this scene or this kind of thing because that'll get us from here to here, right?
Right, yeah. Or we'll use McGee's office, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly. No, I was going to say, you were saying about like getting all excited, but kind of ending up in disappointment. Even as I was coming in here today, I was filling up my water from the fridge, and then I was getting the mic all set up and whatever. And I saw in my head, you know, because to me, I'm like, the After Movie Diner is coming back, right? To me, it's a big thing. And I know that when I put it out, it's going to get like 50 downloads. And I'm going to go, oh, okay. In my head, I was like, oh, this could be like a trailer, like no one knows what they're watching, but you see like cup filling up water, microphone getting ready, lights coming up kind of thing. And then it's going to be like, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, nobody's thinking of me like that at all. But I'm thinking of me in my head like he's back. And I'm going to put the trailer out for this episode. And it's 3 views on YouTube, and the podcast is going to get 50 downloads. But it doesn't, I've got to keep thinking of myself like that. Otherwise, I've got to be the Howard Stern of podcasting, or even though he's now the Howard Stern of podcasting, but I've got to be that. Otherwise, no one else is going to do that for me. You know what I mean? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, best of luck. And
this has been fantastic.
As always, I'll be listening, and this is an exciting new chapter.
This has been fantastic, Matt. Thank you ever so much for doing this, and I'm really glad that it was all thematically tied together so well. So thank you ever so much for being on the first episode of the second season of the After Movie Diner. After Movie Diner, John Cross makes a movie, episode 1, Inspiration. That's the long, cumbersome title for this podcast episode. So thank you for being here. I have one personal question before you go back to your life, sir.
Yeah.
Earlier today, my Spotify was just playing around, and it played the Beatles' "Free as a Bird" from when the anthology came out, right?
Of course.
And I remember when the anthology came out and "Free as a Bird" came out, and that was that whole big thing. It was like a big, I don't know what it was like over here, but it was like a big deal. It was like the first new Beatles single or whatever. And I feel like it came out and people were immediately sniffy about it and didn't like it. But I've loved it. I've always loved it. I even love that Jeff Lynne produced it, and it's got a bit of a Wilbury-esque feel to it. How do you feel about "Free as a Bird" and "Real Love"? I've always wanted to ask you.
Oh, yeah. 2 for 2. I like "Real Love" even better, I think, than "Free as a Bird."
Well, that was already out as sort of a finished demo, right?
Yeah. They're both great. I guess my only frankly, it's the stuff that was added to "Free as a Bird," like "Whatever Happened to."
Oh, you don't like that bit?
That part, it feels too like schmaltzy for me, but otherwise,
I liked it because it's McCartney kind of basically being like,
I know,
we should have been doing this all along, guys. Like, why the hell weren't we doing this? This is dumb that we've just done this. Like, I quite like that.
Yeah, it just maybe doesn't blend as well with what John was doing. But
no, the bit that doesn't work is when George reprises it, because he doesn't sing the whole chorus. He just sings "Whatever Happened to the Life We Once Knew Always Made Me Feel Free as a Bird." Well, it didn't, George. You fucking hated it. So, it didn't make you feel free as a bird. You felt trapped and contained.
You can hear that in his delivery.
Right. That's the bit that doesn't work. I'm like, it should have just gone into a George solo, which it then does. Like, after he does a reprise, it goes into a solo, and it's kind of soaring and beautiful, and you're like, this is the best George has played in years. I wish he'd been doing albums all this time. Mm-hmm. But I actually love the McCartney middle eight. It reminds me of kind of a day in the life where you've got John being very dirgy, and then Paul comes in with bump ba da 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 da, like that kind of thing. Anyway, I just wanted to ask you because it sure came up today.
Yeah, well, this has been great. We did a good job.
We did a great job. It was a great conversation. And dude, seriously, the psycho, whatever it was, negotiator. Psychic negotiator. The whole film's not going to be about that character, but that scene is in the movie.
Yes.
That scene is in the movie. The fact that Jim and I will get kidnapped by ghosts.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like it'll be like a scene in the middle of the movie. I won't even explain it. It'll just be.
Yeah. I love it.
All right. Okay. Well, look, I'll start writing, and maybe in a few episodes' time, you can check back in.
Cool. Very nice. Have a good one. All right. Peace.
Yeah, take it easy, man. Bye now.
Yes, we've come to the end of the show. That wasn't so bad, was it? You can move forward now with the confidence that you are a survivor. To play us out, here's some new music by Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, which you can find on Bandcamp, Spotify, and wherever music is found, even TikTok, which we don't understand. We're old and find your childish, vain pursuits confusing. Good night.
Fear of missing out, fear of fitting in, fear that becoming just one big complicated thing, like a puzzle in a box with no design on front. You were king of the dust, we were kings of the hunt, and now you're angry at it all and confused by the fall. And they went and put a rainbow on it. Yeah, we went and put a rainbow on it. They put a rainbow on it. Now there is nowhere left for you to go except back down below. Back down below. Fear of the future, fear of the grave, fear of the hundreds of souls that you failed to save. A public disgrace, all your money on the table. There's no backing down now from the weight of that label. Fight the invisible hold and wish it was you they secretly adored. But they went and put a rainbow on it. We should all put a rainbow on it. Let's put a rainbow on it. It's like it or not, now or never. We're all in this together. Put a rainbow on it. We all put a rainbow on it. Let's put a rainbow on everything. Test the skin. If there is sin, put a